Well, welcome back. Suspected kidnappers have escaped with bullet injuries after they abandoned their vehicle and fled into a nearby bush in Asaba, Delta State, which occurred at Oko Market Road in Asaba. Delta State Police Public Relations Officer SP Bright Edafe, who confirmed in a statement on Sunday, said the command's Special Anti-Kidnapping and Cybersecurity Crime Squad, led by CSP Labe Joseph, recovered from the suspect's abandoned operational vehicle one AK-47 rifle and a dispatched breech number, 2 pump-action guns, 1 magazine, 8 rounds of AR live ammunition, and 21 rounds of live cartridges concealed under the suspect's engine compartment. The police image maker said, acting on distress call from the command's control room over a kidnap incident along DLA Road in Asaba, where 4 armed hoodlums operating in a Toyota Camry who kidnapped 1 male and a female victim, and a Toyota Camry vehicle belonging to a woman was also taken by the hoodlums. The Commissioner of Police, CP Olufemi Abaniwanda, upon receipt of this information, directed the command's Special Anti-Kidnapping and Cyber Crime Security to ensure that the hoodlums are arrested and victims rescued. Edafe said CP Olufemi Abaniwanda had assured residents that the command will go all out to ensure that the fleeing suspects were arrested and brought to book. Organized labor unions in Cross River State are set to embark on an indefinite strike over the non-implementation of the new minimum wage by the state government. The Cross River State chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Gregory Olayi, who disclosed this, said workers would begin the strike at midnight on Sunday if the government failed to implement the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Similarly, the chairman of Trade Union Congress in State, Monday Ogbodum, affirmed that unless the government implements the new minimum wage regime, there would be no backing down from the planned industrial action, adding that negotiations with the state government are ongoing, but this will not deter the union from proceeding with the strike if necessary. Unknown gunmen have returned from Umochima village in Isialangwa North local government area of Abia State and killed the male indigene of the community who was alleged to have provided information to the army after their existence in the community. This is coming after the Nigerian army had on Tuesday announced that the troops of Joint Task Force Southeast Operation, codenamed Operation Udoka, destroyed a camp in Umochima, and following the killing of an alleged informant, some natives of the affected village fled their homes in fear and relocated to nearby villages, promising to return as soon as the dust had settled. The fleeing villagers, who picked a few of their important properties, said they didn't want to become victims of circumstances, adding that a few days ago, the personnel of the Nigerian Army's 14th Brigade, Ohafia, and other identified gunmen clashed in Umochina village after over 15 Hilux vehicles and armored personnel carriers arrived at the village targeting suspected gunmen. The gunmen were reportedly camped near a river that marks the boundary between Abia and the Imbise axis of the Imo State, and the development came after the Abia State government and the security agencies had decided to flush out the gunmen terrorizing the state. The gunmen had, since they began their onslaught, killed many security operatives in the area. In Anambra State, police have killed a member of the criminal gang terrorizing residents of the state. Spokesman of the State Police Command, SP Tochukwu Ikenga, in a statement said the incident occurred at Ngulu Nobi Road when the hoodlums attacked the VIP's convoy unprovoked, leading to a retaliation, and the operatives resisted the armed men operating in grey-colored Lexus and an ash-colored Toyota Highlander who attacked their convoy unprovoked. He said during the gun duel, the swift response by the joint security team comprising the police and AVG operatives led by the divisional police officer Neni, an Aocha local government area, made the armed men abandon their vehicle and fled the scene with bullet wounds through a nearby bush, adding that the operatives of the command had also rescued 2 kidnapped victims who were later taken to the hospital. He also said, while one of the victims was pronounced dead in the hospital, the second is responding to treatment. Lagos State Government, through the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources Tokunbo Wahab, has reiterated that it has no plans to ban sachet water in the state. Wahab, who disclosed this in a statement, said on his X handle on Sunday in response to a viral video circulating on social media showing individuals busting packs of sachet water in factories and on buses, sparking rumors of a government ban, dismissed claims that the operatives in the video were state government enforcement agencies. Wahab clarified that the Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu-led administration remains focused on addressing plastic waste through sustainable and inclusive measures and urged the public to disregard any misinformation. Ekiti State Governor Bayodun Oyebanji says he is not worried about the 2026 governorship election in the state. Speaking at the monthly evening of praise and worship at the Jibowu Hall, Government House ground, Ado Ekiti, Oyebanji said his administration remained focused on delivering good governance and fulfilling his promises to the people. Oyebanji disclosed that he often received text messages from politicians expressing fear over the 2026 election, adding that he would not lose sleep over the development as God is in control. Kwara State government has once again warned environmental offenders to desist immediately, stating that anyone caught failing to observe the monthly sanitation exercise will face the full consequences of the law. The State Commissioner for Environment, Nafisat Buge, issued the warning in Ilorin during the monthly sanitation exercise held across the state. A statement released by the press secretary of the ministry, Kamaldeen Alaigon, Buge expressed concern over the fact that nearly 150 sanitation offenders have been apprehended by the task force team, which monitored the exercise, and the offenders have been charged before mobile courts sitting at various locations across the state. Buge said despite efforts to raise awareness through print, electronic and social media, violators still dared to break the law by engaging in activities such as operating commercial motorcycles and tricycles, as well as market women selling their goods illegally during sanitation hours. However, the commissioner expressed satisfaction with the success of the exercise, stating that it would continue to improve until full compliance from residents is achieved, and also reassured the public that the current administration would not relent in its efforts to maintain a clean and hygienic environment for the healthy living of Kwara residents. No fewer than 54 bodies have been recovered from the boat incident involving about 200 traders in Kogi State. The head of operations covering Kogi State at the National Emergency Management Agency, Justice Wazuronye, said they recovered dead bodies after the National Inland Waterways Authority confirmed the boat accident on Friday. The head of NIWA's media department, Suleiman Makama, also said the incident happened when the traders were traveling to a market in the J State on the boat when it capsized along the Dambo-Ebuche section of the River Niger. Meanwhile, Kogi State Governor Usman Aldodo has called for interagency collaboration to prevent waterways accidents and expressed concern about the dangers of the waterways linking Kogi and Niger States. Ododo, in a statement by the Special Advisor on Media, Ismail Issa, expressed sadness over the accident, saying he was concerned that most of the victims were women, petty traders and artisans involved in legitimate businesses activities, and called on relevant authorities to ensure that safety measures were put in place to minimize the risk associated with water transportation in the country. Governor Ododo commiserated with the families of those involved in the accident, promising that the government would support those injured in their recuperation. In a different story, armed terrorists have launched a deadly attack on Kongorki community in Kaura Namoda local government area of Zamfara State, killing an elderly man and abducting 13 residents, including a 2-month-old baby and his mother. Eyewitness Zagozola Makama, a Lake Chad Basin counterterrorism and insurgency expert, in a post on his X handle on Sunday said intelligence sources informed him that the assailants stormed the village under the cover of darkness, firing sporadically to instill fear among residents. The terrorists also looted several shops, carting away food items, household supplies and other valuables. Troops of the 6th Brigade Nigerian Army and Section 3 Operation Wheel Stroke have destroyed bandits' hideouts and recovered arms and ammunition in Taraba State. Captain Olugbondude Oni, Acting Assistant Director, 6th Brigade Army Public Relations, in a statement said the troops working under the leadership of the Brigadier General Kingsley Chidebere Owa engaged the bandits in a fierce firefight and overwhelmed them with superior firepower and forcing their retreat in disarray. The operation, codenamed OP Golden Peace, commenced after extensive confidence-building patrols, clearance missions and stakeholder engagements, which proved effective in the northern part of the state. According to the statement, during the exploitation phase, several bandit camps were destroyed and troops recovered 27 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, 1 AK-47 magazine, 1 handheld Bafing radio, and 2 motorcycles. The Brigadier 6th Brigadier General Kingsley Chidebere Owa expressed gratitude to the unwavering support of local communities and encouraged them to remain vigilant while continuing to provide timely information to security agencies. Indonesian government has expressed its readiness to assist Nigeria to achieve 60% and 40% increase in its milk and meat production, respectively, in the next 5 years. The Indonesian ambassador to Nigeria, Dr. Osra Harahop, had disclosed this during a courtesy visit on Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi in Birnin Kebbi. He said his visit to Kebbi was to consolidate the bilateral relationship between Indonesia, Nigeria, and Kebbi State. Responding, Governor Idris, who was represented by his deputy Alhaji Umar Abubakar Tafida, appreciated the Indonesian government for the support to the state. Yobe State government has engaged critical stakeholders as part of strategies to nip farmers and herders conflict in the bud. An expanded security meeting chaired by Governor Mai Mala Buni brought together heads of security agencies, emirs of Ngelzama and Jajere, as well as local government chairmen and leaders of Mieti Allah. The governor, who was represented by his deputy, Idibaride Gubana, said the security meeting was aimed at reviewing and analyzing the security challenge situation across the state and to ensure that citizens are safe and their property adequately protected. He said the harvest period usually comes with crisis and there is need to keep a close watch so as to avoid clashes between farmers and herders, more especially with the bumper harvest recorded this season. And after extensive deliberations, participants at the meeting came up with some measures expected to bring lasting and sustainable solutions on the perennial clashes between farmers and herders in the state. The adopted measures include utilization and implementation of conflict resolution mechanisms, intensive surveillance and prompt response to security matters, sensitization, engagement and enlightenment campaigns, as well as proactive measures by stakeholders and community leaders. The governor appealed to the residents of the state to continue to support security agencies by providing necessary information. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Television network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu will travel to Cape Town, South Africa from France on Monday. Tinubu will co-chair the 11th session of the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission alongside President Cyril Ramaphosa, and he is currently in France on the invitation of the French President Emmanuel Macron. A statement by Tinubu spokesperson Bayo Onanuga said the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission commences on Tuesday, December 3rd, and Tinubu will engage in talks with President Ramaphosa of South Africa. Onanuga said officials of both countries would sign several memoranda of understanding and agreements, adding that the Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission was established in 1999 to further strengthen the ties of friendship and cooperation between both nations. The president has said that the removal of the oil subsidy by his administration was not to torment Nigerians, but to save the country from total collapse. The president disclosed the subsidy removal on the day of the inauguration on May 29, 2023, when he said the policy had been yielding positive results for the country. Tinubu stated that his address to the 34th and 35th combined convocation ceremonies of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Ondo State, represented by the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ilorin, Professor Wahab Egbewole. The president said his administration was not unaware of the suffering of the people, but expressed assurance that there would be light at the end of the tunnel. He also said there was need to salvage the future of our children and to bring the country back from the brink of collapse. As stated, the strategic decisions to remove the fuel subsidy and also unify the exchange rates. He condemned the exodus of youths to overseas countries in search of greener pastures, saying such action was not solution to the country's problems. Federal lawmaker from Bauchi State, Mansour Soro, has said that the transmission of tax reform bills to the National Assembly in September 2024 by President Bola Tinubu did not comply with due process. This is coming after Tinubu on September 3, 2024 transmitted 4 tax reform bills to the National Assembly for consideration, following the recommendations of the Taiwo Oyedele-led Presidential Committee of Fiscal and Tax Reforms. However, the bills have met stiff opposition from the 36 state governors who have called for their withdrawal to allow room for more consultation. And although the House is broadening consultation ahead of the debate of the bills next week at plenary, the Bauchi lawmaker disclosed why those opposed to the proposed legislation might support the position of the governors. Soro, who represents Darazo Ganjua Federal Constituency, said before related bills were passed in the past, they enjoyed the support of the National Economic Council, stressing that during the 9th Assembly, the lawmakers passed the Finance Act 2020. He also said before the finance bill was passed into law, it went from the Federal Executive Council to the National Economic Council for subnationals to make their input and ratify. Former Vice President and 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has called for the transparency and fairness of the National Assembly's ongoing review of the tax reforms bill. A statement issued on Sunday, Atiku expressed concern over the uneven development across Nigeria's federating units, stressing that the importance of the fiscal system that ensures justice and equity, and also urged the National Assembly to conduct the public hearing on the bills with objectivity and inclusiveness. He stressed on the importance of involving diverse stakeholders, including civil society organizations, traditional institutions, and economic experts, and called on the National Assembly to revisit and publish the resolutions of the National Economic Council, describing it as a crucial advisory body for Nigeria's economic affairs. Atiku's remarks comes amidst widespread debate over the tax reform bills, with Nigerians raising concerns about the potential implications of the reforms on economic justice and regional development. Indigenous people of Biafra has disassociated itself from the purported declaration of the Biafra Republic by some members of the Finland-based group, describing it as a scam. The pro-Biafran group urged the people to ignore the declaration, saying those involved in the event in Finland were among the sponsors of the insecurity in Nigeria's southeast region. A statement issued by the IPOB spokesman, Emma Powerful, on Sunday said the agenda of those who made the declaration in Finland was to destabilize the southeast, divide the people and cause panic, and divert the attention of Biafrans and those sympathetic to the Biafran struggle. According to him, there is no room for another Biafran declaration after what late leader Dim Ojukwu declared in 1967, insisting that all those involved in the declaration in Finland are criminals and fake agents, adding that IPOB is calling for a United Nations supervised referendum for Biafrans so that the declared sovereignty can be restored. Leaders of the PDP have asked members of the National Executive Committee to gather two-thirds support and convene a meeting to address matters hindering the party's progress. A former national secretary to the party, Umar Ibrahim Sauru, and a senior party member said they expected PDP governors to rally two-thirds of the NEC party members to convene a meeting and address issues related to party unity, adding that the delay in convening the NEC meeting by acting national chairman of the party, Umar Damagu, could derail reconciliation efforts and the push to reposition the party. He said, during the 98th NEC meeting on April 18th, party leaders approved the creation of a reconciliation and disciplinary committee and the holding of a ward and state congresses, and also tasked the North Central Caucus of the party to consult on Damagun's replacement. United Nations Children's Nigeria representatives, Ms. Kristen Muduate, has called on media practitioners to be more thorough in reporting issues relating to children. Muduate, who disclosed this in Lagos at a symposium organized by UNICEF in collaboration with Nigeria's Guild of Editors, said the symposium was part of activities to mark the 2024 World Children's Day and had the theme reinforcing the role of media in mainstream children's rights. The event had stakeholders in the media industry, eminent journalists, broadcasters, senior government officials from the Ministry of Education, representatives from the private sector, influencers, and advocates present, while the stakeholders were engaged in 3 panel sessions where they addressed critical issues facing children in Nigeria and underscored the media's role in advocating for children's rights. Muduate also said journalists need to give priority to anything that could relate to children through their quality investigative reports and going beyond the individual story and following through, adding that the media can communicate deeply with the people, through which they can inform society about the true state of children. The UNICEF Nigeria representatives cited grim data on the state of Nigerian children, saying that 1 in 2 children live in poverty and 41 newborns out of 1,000 births do not survive due to complications and teenage pregnancies, stressing that 40% of children aged 5 are stunted due to malnutrition, which affects their intellectual capacity for life. In the business news, federal government has raised the amount of small businesses that they could assess on single-digit loans to 5 million naira to ensure the country's inclusive economic growth. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Bank of Industry, Dr. Olashupo Olusi, discussed this during a town hall sensitization in Lagos on federal government's grants and loan scheme. The event was organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investments, the Presidency, Bank of Industry, and other stakeholders. Olusi, represented by Umar Shekarau, Executive Director, MSMEs, BOL, praised President Bola Tinubu for the availability of 200 billion naira Presidential Intervention Fund for micro, small, and medium enterprises. So that happened. He said 75 billion naira out of the presidential conditional grants and loan schemes was targeted for MSMEs, adding that the initiative was expected to create thousands of direct and indirect jobs nationwide. And the fund, facilitated through the Bank of Industry nationwide, was already sitting in the bank ready to be disbursed to the beneficiaries at just 9% interest. Up next is the international tidbits. Severe flooding caused by days of torrential rain has forced over 122,000 people to evacuate homes in Malaysia, with disaster officials confirming 3 fatalities. Authorities warned that the numbers could rise with the heavy rain and storm warnings persist, and thousands of emergency personnel have been deployed to assist and rescue, while 679 shelters have been established to accommodate these displaced persons. The northeastern state of Kelantan, bordering Thailand, is the most affected, accounting for 63% of the displaced population, while others affected in states include Terengganu, Kedah, Perlis, Negari, Sembilan, Selangor, Johor, Melaka, and Perak. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's office confirmed that additional disaster relief supplies have been sent to the Kelantan and Terengganu state. Government had barred cabinet members from taking leave to ensure the government's focus remains on managing the crisis. In a separate development, Russia carried out a series of airstrikes in Syria on Sunday as rebels advanced after seizing Aleppo. UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 5 people were killed in a strike on a hospital in Aleppo, while a strike inside the northwestern city of Idlib killed 8 civilians and wounded more than 50 warplanes. Also struck rural parts of Idlib and Hama, where the group leading the rebel offensive had recently taken control, and the Syrian government has lost control of Aleppo for the first time since the country's civil war began. The surprise offensive by the opposition forces, which began on Wednesday, marks the most significant fighting in Syria's civil war in recent years, and it's been led by the Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Shaman, as well as allied factions backed by Turkey. Georgia's pro-Western president says she will stay in post until new parliamentary elections were held, as protests continue over the government's decision to put European Union's accession negotiations on hold. Salom Zobarchivli, who has sided with the opposition, described the current parliament as illegitimate after allegations of fraud in last month's elections, adding that she would retain her role as president despite the country's newly elected parliament saying it would choose her replacement on 14th December. Mass protests in the capital are continuing to erupt for a 3rd consecutive night on Saturday as the capital of Tbilisi and riot police have been deployed around the country's parliament, the focal point of 3 nights of protests. Romanians returned to the polls on Sunday to elect a new parliament, with the far right tipped to win, potentially heralding a shift of the foreign policy of NATO country bordering Ukraine. The parliamentary poll comes at a time of sparked political turmoil when a top court ordered a recount of the first round of the separate presidential election on November 24th, the presidential ballot was won by Kalin Georgescu, a little-known far-right admirer of Russian President Vladimir Putin. A runoff of the poll is slated for December 8th. Despite accusations of Russian influence and alleged interference via TikTok, Sunday's parliamentary elections went ahead as planned, and Romania's political landscape has been shaped by two major parties for the past 3 decades. And now in sports, Nigeria's team armed forces topped the medal tables of the second African Military Games 2024, clinching 234 medals as the competition ended on Saturday night. According to the medal team, Team Nigeria secured 114 gold, 64 bronze, and 64 silver, and 45 bronze across 21 sporting events, while Algeria came second with 96 medals, consisting of 53 gold, 22 silver, and 21 bronze. And it is billed to host the third edition. Kenya held 59 medals, consisting of 21 gold, 17 silver, and 12 bronze to clinch third place, while Ghana, Ethiopia, and Tunisia rounded off in top 6, finishing 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively, while South Africa, Libya, and Uganda followed in 8th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, while Tanzania secured the 10th spot. In his remarks at the closing event, the president's Organization of Military Sports in Africa, Major General Abdullahi Maikano, said the event was a milestone of cooperation and unity in African armed forces, adding that the games showcase extraordinary displays of skills, determination, and sportsmanship, as well as the very best of the continent of Africa. Maikano expressed appreciation to Nigerian military authorities and urged the participating nations to carry forward the cooperation, understanding, friendship, and bond that they formed during the game. Former Arsenal midfielder Martin Keown has described Martin Odegaard as the most important player in the Premier League. The Gunners currently sit in the second position in the Premier League table, while most of the Arsenal's stellar outings this term have come from Odegaard in the lineup. Odegaard returned to the action against Inter Milan in the Champions League early last year, having picked up an injury while on international duty in September, and Arsenal's only 2 defeats in the Premier League this season came in the Norwegian's absence. Odegaard made a full return against Chelsea in the Premier League, and pundits and fans alike have been hailing the Norway international over his works for the team. Galatasaray have lined up a January move for Bayer Leverkusen's winger Nathan Teller. According to reports emanating from Turkey, the Super League champions are exploring a loan move for the Nigerian international, while Teller joined Leverkusen from Southampton last summer, winning the Bundesliga title in his first season at the Bay Arena. The 24-year-old has, however, struggled for regular playing time at the club and made 24 league appearances for Die Weskelf last season, mostly as a substitute. He has featured 8 times for Xabi Alonso's side this term, and former Burnley star has complained after his lack of game time at the club and could be open to a move elsewhere. And now on entertainment, Nigerian comedian Funnybone has narrated how his friendship with a lady ended. Funnybone, in a post on Instagram page, said their relationship ended because of Pastor Jerry Eze personal phone number. He said an old university friend stopped talking him and the feelings is very mutual. Singer Ruga has explained his romantic relationships with women. Ruga, who described himself as a lover boy, said he recently discovered that relationships don't work for him. He also said his natural instinct is to get serious with someone, but he often loses interest. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look and recap at the major headlines. Suspected kidnappers escape with bullet wounds in Delta State.